Hello, today we're going to talk about Trump's evolving immigration policy, how it went from we're going to deport criminal illegals to snatching your gardener to denaturalizing people and now taking away citizenship of regular natural born Americans. Hello, welcome to Marxisms. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you've never been here before, welcome. Please like and subscribe. But do not hit the notification button because notifications are annoying. I wouldn't do it. I don't expect you to. Anyway, so Trump's immigration policy has really evolved. It started off, we're going to deport all the criminal illegals and get the rabble off the streets, the gang members, the murderers, the rapists, the human traffickers, drug dealers. I'm all for that. Unfortunately, the Democrats didn't do enough on this issue, and they basically helped create Trump. They went too far on so many things. They shoved a lot of stuff down everybody's throats, and that kind of thing makes it possible to have the radicalism that you see in MAGA, unfortunately. But yeah, so the Democrats are to blame for a lot of this. They should have did more. Um, they should have been a little more outspoken about things that they weren't. But here we are. We started off with criminal illegals. That was no problem. But then quickly it evolved into snatching your gardener off the street, just hardworking uh, uh, immigrants who came here for a better life, who want to feed their families, want to have more freedom in their lives, which I'm not sure you get that in this country anymore. And then a couple days ago, he starts talking about denaturalizing citizens. So Republicans have been saying for a long time that, oh, we just want to get rid of the illegals, not the people that came here legally. Well, now he wants to get rid of the people that came here legally, and he's set kind of loose criteria for that. You know, people that might have done something on their application that wasn't quite true or whatever. I don't know. Melania got pretty fast tracked, so maybe we should investigate her and possibly deport her. Yeah. So I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to be we're going to make stuff up and we're going to go after the people that we don't like, the brown people. You know, that's not we, them. You know, I say we, I say Americans as in kind of in general, and not all Americans feel that way, of course. It's MAGA. Um, so they're actually deporting uh, and picking up Puerto Ricans. Last I checked, Puerto Ricans were Americans. Americans, they're part of America. Puerto Rico's an American territory, and they've almost become the 51st state a couple of times. Of course, now they're seeing what's going on here and how Trump's treated people, and some of them are thinking about going back to Spain. You know, being back to being under Spain rather than the United States. Kind of can't blame them there. I always wish they would just go ahead and become the 51st state, and then we don't have to talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. I guess Trump would be talking about the 52nd state at that point then. But anyway, that's never going to happen. Not without a fight, that's for sure. Um, so and I would fight that too. I mean, if Canada doesn't want to be part of America, then they shouldn't be part of the United States, and they shouldn't be part of the United States. They're already a part of America. um, we we look at things a little differently here when it comes to that. So anyway, so it's evolved, and now Rosie O'Donnell, who has spoken out against Trump, he does not like her. I particularly don't care for her either. I've never really been a big fan of hers. I don't think she's a good actor, and but that's neither here nor there. She's an American. She has a right to speak out against Trump. She has a right to live in Ireland like she's doing right now to get away from all this nonsense. I have no problem with that. I wish I could go. I've got cousins there and stuff. It'd be pretty cool. But I mean, I love this is my home. I love the United States. But a lot of people don't want to be here right now. People are frightened at this guy. He's dangerous. She's sitting there talking about how dangerous Rosie O'Donnell is to the country. But what for speaking out against him? That makes her dangerous? No. Speaking out against you, Donald Trump, is patriotism because you're dangerous to this country. MAGA is dangerous to this country. As far as I'm concerned, they're all traitors because they support Donald Trump, who has just shit on the Constitution. That's un-American. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're dehumanizing these people. They're sending them to places like alligator Alcatraz, and we've come to start calling it alligator Auschwitz. And I know some Jewish people are getting a little ticked off at that, and it just don't. It's no one is equating this with the actual death camps of Nazi Germany, at least not at this point. But what they're trying to say is that we're treating people with inhumanity by sending them to places like this. It's out in the middle of a swamp. It's a long distance away from any hospital. Um, the conditions are horrendous out there. They're just cages. It was built in 8 days on an airstrip. I guess there's sewage that leaks into the sleeping quarters. The food is really subpar. And I see people on social media, just, MAGA, just saluting this. They're saluting the inhumane treatment. I mean, these are people who claim to be Christians, a lot of them. They're saluting the inhumanity and saying that, oh, they deserve it. Okay, so how does your gardener who came here to um, have a better life, to feed his family, how does he deserve that? What did he do to deserve that? He wanted a better life, and so he wanted a better life, so he came here, and so he deserves to be treated like an animal. Well, guess what? We all came here for a better life. People in Europe came here in the 1600s to get away from religious policies. My family came here from Holland in originally in the 1600s, a lot later than, or a lot earlier than Trump's family did. 1885 is when his great grandfather came here. Um, but we still stole the land because there were people here already. And so what's going on here is they're dehumanizing people. And here's how this works. I'm going to kind of go into this. Well, first of all, I want to play this video. So this tells you what Trump thinks. This is how Trump feels about America and Americans, and what he wants to see, and it's pretty telling in a couple of ways. Hang on just a sec. All right, let's cue this up.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
they talked about that yesterday.
I would have him. Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he's the strong head. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Well, just before you met with him, he cleaned house. 3 of his top generals, some of the hardliners, he fired. Then you go over there, and you took some heat over saluting one of the generals.
I think he fired at least. Okay, when you say he
3
fired,
that we know of.
I think maybe fired at least. Fired may be a nice word.
Are we close to seeing?
Okay, so what Trump is doing there is he's saluting the fact that Kim Jong-un basically was purging his government and his potential adversaries by killing them. And then he's also saluting the fact that Kim Jong-un has his people stand at attention whenever he speaks, and that he is supreme. And this is what he wants of his people. He wants complete and total loyalty, which is why he's got all these crazy DUI hires in his cabinet. He wants people that are just subservient to him, that are loyal, that pledge their loyalty to him, that don't care about the Constitution, don't care about the American people. They only care about Trump. Because Trump is their leader, and that's who their allegiance goes to, not to America, not to the Constitution. It's pretty clear. I was kind of hoping yesterday that Dan Bongino actually had and Kash Patel actually had um, some principles, but it's pretty clear they don't. They've both capitulated. They're both back in with Trump and his perfect cabinet, as he says. My cabinet is perfect. No criticism can be tolerated. They're all perfect. Everything is going well. And that all has to do with the Epstein files, which he's now saying, oh, it was created by Obama and Biden and his enemies, Clinton. And it's like, no, the Epstein files are, who Epstein had in his cabinet. If it was created by Clinton, it certainly um, wouldn't be accurate, because we all know that Clinton was just as much a buddy as Trump is of Epstein. The truth about the Epstein thing is that Trump's all over those files. Trump's all over the clients list, and he doesn't want that getting out. And he's willing to protect Bill Clinton and anybody else. And same with the Democrats. The Democrats did the same thing. They should have released it, but they wouldn't do it because Bill Clinton's on it, because Clinton's their god, and Trump is a Republican god. We need to stop this nonsense with this loyalty to party. We need to be loyal to decency, humanity, morality, America, not political parties, not individuals. This is bullshit. This has got to stop. Okay, so I'm going to talk about inhumanity. We In this country, we've always treated African Americans differently because their skin color is different. So we're going to talk about that first. So originally, everybody came from Africa. I'm sorry, you Christians might want to plug your ears, because the world is more than 5,000 years old, or 10,000, or whatever you think it is. It's much older than that. Evolution has taken place. It's a proven fact. And I don't care what your stupid Bible says, it's not true. So there's some good stuff in there, don't get me wrong, but the idea that, Adam and Eve and that nonsense, I'm sorry, it's just BS. So the earth, we'll call this the earth, and this is the sun, revolves around the sun. The earth revolves around the sun, as we know. Okay. And the earth, a long time ago, was hit by another planet, and which also probably created the moon, we believe, and then knocked the earth off its axis. So now when the earth spins and rotates, it also goes like this. It's tilted on its axis. Actually, it's tilted. It doesn't move. It's tilted, and so when it's like on this side, it we have more direct sunlight, and when it's not, when we're on the other side, this is the bottom of Earth. The lower hemisphere is now getting more direct sunlight. So that's how that works. It would be better if I had a couple of globes that I could show you, because a lot of people don't understand this concept. I mean, I remember maybe 20 years ago, there was a thing in the local paper, a little questionnaire about science and what people knew. And even the paper was saying that the seasons are created by the Earth being closer to the sun. Well, that's not true. It's because of the tilt. And so when you're on one side, um, here's the sun, here's the Earth. The northern hemisphere, as you can see, is closer to the sun and getting more direct sunlight. But when it's the opposite, let's just pretend that this is the Earth now, and this is the sun. And so now it's tilted away, and the northern hemisphere is not getting direct sunlight. So the sun's rays pass through at more of an angle. All right. So that's what creates summer and winter. But now if you're on the equator, where Africa is, and where humans originated from, no matter which way, it's always going to be getting pretty direct sunlight, which is why they have darker skin, darker pigment. When early humans moved out of Africa, originally the Neanderthal did, and they moved to Europe and then spread out all over the world. And then modern humans eventually however many million years later or thousands of years later, moved out of Africa. I don't have those numbers right now. Moved out of Africa and eventually started breeding with. It was originally thought that we killed them all off, but what it was that we breeded with them and bred them out of existence for. They became us. So they actually Neanderthals still exist. Me, I'm one. I have Neanderthal DNA. Yes, if you're from Europe, you do. If you're from Asia, you do. Denison, I forget how to pronounce it, but it was a form of Neanderthal. It was a similar, they were, they called them something different because they evolved a little bit differently. But they still mixed with modern humans. And so you want to talk about, the Aryans used to say, oh, the pure blood white race. Well, there's no such thing. But if you want to go back to a more pure race, you're going to have to go to Africa, because there are Africans that had not left modern humans that stayed in Africa and do not have Neanderthal DNA. They don't have it. So there were many humanoids or hominids that lived in Africa, and most of them died off. Now, Neanderthal, what were left of um, the like pure Neanderthal, they died off to a competition with humans, and then the human hybrid of Neanderthal humans, modern humans, were dominant in probably because of um, um, immunity, and so we're able to withstand viruses and stuff like that. So the Neanderthal died off, basically, and that's what happened there. And immunity has an awful lot to do with racism and how things kind of evolved, and evolution. I mean, it's just we're you look at our DNA, and we could see viruses that have shaped the way we evolved. I know Christians aren't going to like that or believe it, but tough shit. It's true. So anyway, um, that's going to be a continuing theme here. So we evolved separately in some ways, and in fact, Europeans became there was more interaction with the East and stuff like that than Africa, because Africa was kind of isolated because of the Sahara and stuff like that. So they developed a little differently culturally and disease wise. So, like with smallpox, when we went over to the Americas and Europeans discovered it, it was already discovered. But when it was rediscovered by Europeans, we came over there with smallpox, which they had not been exposed to, and that's why it killed off so many of the Native Americans. But now in Africa, where they had more tropical weather, um, the Africans were had immunity to yellow fever and malaria. So when Europeans went down there to colonize, what they did was they died because they could not work down there. They couldn't do it. When we built the Panama Canal, we ended up having to have um, Africans and Central Americans doing a lot of the work, because I mean, Americans would be out there, they'd die. They couldn't handle the heat, for one thing, because of the white skin color, and because of we're susceptible to malaria and yellow fever because we hadn't developed the immunity. Eventually, some white people living in those areas did, but when we came over to the Americas and started working in the Caribbean, sugar cane and all that stuff, we had to bring African slaves over because the white people couldn't do the work, because of they would die of malaria. I mean, whole colonies would die, and so it wasn't really feasible. So that's how the slave trade kind of began, starting in Africa. And I don't want to hear the nonsense that, oh, Africans started slavery. It's like, well, slavery's been around a long time, and it used to be different. It used to be you conquered a tribe, and or another people, another country, and you made their soldiers slaves, and that's how it originated. I don't agree with that either, but that was a different thing. It wasn't really a racial thing. it became racial because of the fact that Africans could handle the heat and the disease. And so here's how this happened. So we start bringing them over, and the Europeans were Christians, the Spanish and were Catholics, and the English and whatever were Protestant. And so, okay, so you're sitting there on your, let's say you're on your plantation in South Carolina, and you've got black people out working, slaves working the rice paddies, or in Mississippi working the cotton, and you're sitting there teaching your kid the Bible, okay, and where it says that all men are created, or all men are equal, and Jesus talks about treat other people like you treat yourself. Um, when foreigners are in your land, treat them like citizens, because we were once in bondage in Egypt, and all these things that are all through the Bible. Jesus talked about it. It's all through the Old Testament. And so, what do you tell your kids? Your kids are going, but look out the window. Look at what are we doing to these people? Well, those aren't people. So that's what they had to. So here's where the dehumanization comes in. Um, you had to teach your kids that they were less than human, that they were subhuman, that they were a different race that didn't feel pain like we do. They have thicker skin, because it looks like they do, because to an American, white American, it looks like their skin is thicker because it's darker, but it's not. Those are all mythology. In fact, until recently, I think probably even today, I mean, you could talk to some people in the African American community, and they'll tell you this, that people in the medical field still sometimes think that Africans have thicker skin, or that they're less susceptible to pain. Well, that's not true. They might be harder workers, and they might have thicker skin in a metaphorical sense because of the way they've been treated by white people, but not literally. So what had to happen was you had to dehumanize these people. So this is a learned behavior. Prejudice is a learned behavior. It's not something that is inherent amongst people. Um, Back in the old days, I mean, there were people don't realize this, but there were African Americans who were at times popes and um, Caesars and whatnot. It didn't matter if you became a Roman citizen. If you Romans conquered a land and you became a Roman citizen, you were a Roman citizen. Whether you were from Tarsus, like Paul in the Bible, who was a Roman citizen and Jewish, but he was a Roman citizen, and North Africa, and so you were considered a citizen. But anyway, um, so in modern times, they've had to dehumanize certain people to make it acceptable to harm them and treat them with inhumanity, like slavery, and like Trump's doing, and like MAGA's doing. Um, that's how that kind of happens. You had this idea that not people like you, and so you can treat them badly because they're not human. That's exactly what we're doing again today. We did that with the slaves and taught our kids for years and years, and it's still being taught today in places like the South and whatnot, that they're not like us, they're not human, they commit more crimes and everything else. Look how many more of them are in prison. Well, they're more in prison because of prejudice. White people get lesser sentences and are arrested less frequently than African Americans uh, because of their skin color, for no other reason. They're targeted. Um, and actually, ICE right now they're being told that they could basically racially profile. It used to be kind of illegal in this country. It would still happen. We know it still happened. Um, my son wanted to be a cop, and he was doing a ride along in Sonoma County, I believe. And he was telling me that, yeah, they said, well, we can't racially profile anymore. He goes, but we could vehicle profile. And then so they pull this car over for having a ripped tag. It had a little tear in it. And so that was their excuse for pulling this car over. But then the cop told my son, but the secret is these are dirty Mexicans driving this car. My son does not want to be a cop anymore. Thanks, Sonoma County. Your racism helped my son make a better decision for his life. Yeah, so it still exists. They've found ways around it, but now Trump's um, Tom Homan. He's basically telling ICE that they can racially profile. They don't have rules. ICE does not have rules anymore. They can treat anybody the way they want to. They don't have to identify themselves. They wear masks. They don't wear uniforms. They don't wear badges. They can just snatch people off the streets. They can deport them without due process. It's Nazi Germany. This is very Nazi Germany going on here. And it's the same thing. It's what Hitler did with the Jews. He dehumanized them. He called them rats, and he made up stories about them drinking blood of babies and of Gentiles and stuff like that. It's exactly what we're doing. It's the same story. It's dehumanizing. And if you go on social media and you watch these MAGA people on there, and when they're talking about alligator Alcatraz and the conditions there, they're cheering it. These people who are supposed to be Christians are cheering this inhumanity against their fellow human beings because they're different. They've been dehumanized. In their eyes, they're not the same as us. They're not human. It's sick, and that's what's going on. That's how it happens. If you took a bunch of kids, you take a white kid, a black kid, an Asian kid, a Latino or Hispanic kid, and you put them on a playground and they haven't been taught anything about other races, they will just play together and they will play happily. They will not, it will, the different colors won't make any difference because you put a bunch of white kids on a playground, they're all going to be different too, because that's the way humans are. We're all different. So it doesn't make us any less human. We all bleed the same. We all have emotions. We all feel pain the same for the most part. Everybody's a little bit different, but some people have more of a tolerance, but not because they're black or not because they're anything else. So you put kids on a playground that are different, what we call races today, which is bullshit. We're all the human race. Anyway, different ethnicities. It won't make any difference. They will play together. There's a great Disturbed song by the metal band Disturbed. It's called "Who Taught You How to Hate," and they talk about that in the song. And that's the truth. It's taught. It's a learned behavior. Racism is a learned behavior. You're taught from your parents. You're taught it in schools in some places. It's just a fact. So if you get a racist kid, you might want to take a look at their family because they're learning that from their family. They're being taught that. My kids are not racist. My kids are not homophobic because they weren't raised that way. Now my father came out from Michigan to San Francisco, and he stayed at the Y because he new into town, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a place to live. Young kid gets in his car and drives across country, him and some buddies. And so he ends up with a couple of roommates there. And one of them is a gay man from El Paso, Texas. Now, the way my family is, they're very unassuming people. They don't care if you're black, white, what your sexual orientation is or any of that kind of stuff. My dad was lifelong friends with this gentleman. And when he passed, my mom remained friends with him until this gentleman passed. We didn't learn racism in my family, so we're not. My kids didn't learn racism, so they're not. When kids unlearn it and learn it in their family, then unlearn it, my hat's off to them because that's a more difficult thing. But racism is a learned behavior. It's taught. It's taught in your household. It's taught in your churches, and it's taught in your schools, depending on where you are. And it's unnatural, and it revolves around seeing the small differences in people and then dehumanizing them for those differences, like we did with African Americans, like we did with the Native Americans here, like we've done with like we're done and doing with Hispanics now. I mean, deporting Puerto Ricans, why? Because they look like Mexicans, basically. To them. I mean, they don't to me. I can tell a Puerto Rican from a Mexican in most situations, but your average American can't do that. Same with Chinese and Japanese. I mean, I hear it all the time. Oh well, you're Chinese, and it's like, no, they're Japanese. It's like it's not the same. So it's yeah, it's really disgusting, but it's a dehumanizing factor. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Peace.